Hello everybody, I hope you're all doing fucking fantastic. This is a really exciting video for me to make. At the end of this video, you are going to have the tools. You will have a formula that you can apply to any comedian you will ever see in your life and figure out exactly the stylings and what they are doing in how they are getting the laughs they're getting. You will never be left in the dark again as to how a comedian is going over so well. After I give you the formula, we are going to look at 3 comedians in this video. We are going to apply this formula to Steven Wright, Louis C.K. and Mark Normand. 3 very different styles of comedian. We are going to apply this simple formula to them and find out exactly what it is they are doing on stage and why they're going over just so well. Let's get into the video. PB. I had to look at my own invention for a second there to remember it. Okay, what the hell does that mean? We've got perception, we've got jokes, we've got pacing and body language. These are the categories we are going to break down till the end of time when it comes to stand-up comedy. I want you to tattoo PJPB onto the face of your lover. These are the most important 4 letters you're ever going to have in your life. First of all, we start with perception. It's the single most important part of the entire picture. We need to lean in to how the audience see us. Figure out how you come across to an audience and lean into it for comedic purposes. And you can't really go too wrong in the set. If everything else falls down but you do material based on their perception, you're still going to win. The jokes need to be in line with the character. If you come across one way and you start down a particular path, you can never change route. You're going to see that the comedians we look at in this video in a short period of time always stick to the same environment of jokes. You're never going to get one of them doing a completely different style. The jokes need to be an extra exaggeration of the perception the audience see and the audience believe you to be. Not in line with each other, the whole thing is going to fall flat. Next up is pacing, where I've just realized if you look hard enough that there is a particularly embarrassing word misspelt on this graphic. Fucking get in. Pacing is absolutely crucial. It turns your set from a monologue on stage into a conversational tone. People will get behind what you're saying if it sounds conversational and it sounds like it's just being riffed and thought of on the spot. Pacing is the secret sauce that makes that illusion come to life. Finally, we got body language. We've got to make sure that our movement and our eye contact is in sync with the audience and the rest of the formula I gave you today. By having all of these stepping stones in sync with each other, then we understand how we come across to the audience, which means our jokes are always in line and our pacing is conversational, which means they listen intently to what's about to come, and we're making sure that we're consistently paying attention to the focus of the audience in front of us. And never again will we go on stage holding a piece of paper just trying to get to the end of an overly prepared set. So there you have it, the formula you are going to use forever, PJPB. Please do tattoo it into the ballsack of your lover immediately, if not sooner. Let's go on and start checking out a few comedians. First up, we got Steven Wright, and we are very quickly going to just very easily paste the formula into Steven Wright's set and see exactly what we come up with.
Thanks. The Stones, I love the Stones. I can't believe they're still doing it after all these years. Watch them whenever I can. Fred and Barney. Last summer I drove cross country with a friend of mine. We split the drive and we switched every half mile. The whole way across, we only had one cassette tape to listen to. I can't remember what it was.
Not rocket science, right? Perception. In which way does he come out? Has the show already started? Has he already started the set by coming on with absolute deadpan energy straight out the gate? You don't even need to hear him speak for the first time to know that he's going to be downplaying quite a lot of his performance. And of course he opens up with the kind of over-exaggerated, like, oh, thanks. Absolutely brilliant classic Steven Wright. Next one is jokes. What jokes is he telling? He's keeping everything in sync with each other. He didn't just get the audience on board and immediately change the direction or change the vibe or change even the scenario of the jokes. Steven was always about finding absurd words that jumped out of a page or in his thought process and putting them into a joke, and then finding absurd connections and changing around well-known meanings to fit in his own crazy world. Really unique writer, and it's so obvious to see that everything is in sync. Notice how the pacing never changes. He's playing with little silent moments here and there, and he's keeping it so conversational. And when he's so comfortable in a silence that he creates, well, when the time is right to fill the silence with laughter, it's filled with a lot of laughter, because a person who can show themselves comfortable in the silence when there's not laughter gets the silence filled with laughter more when there is laughter, because the audience can see everything in sync and that you're not nervous. Let's move on to Louis C.K.
It's pretty good. And I've wasted a lot of time just being angry at people I don't know. You know, it's amazing how nasty we can get as people, depending on the situation. Like, most people are okay, as long as they're okay. But if you put people in certain contexts, they just change. Like, when I'm in my car, I have a different set of values. I am the worst person I can be when I'm behind the wheel, which is when I'm at my most dangerous. When you're driving, that's when you need to be the most compassionate and responsible of any other time in your life, because you are fucking driving a weapon amongst weapons. And yet it's the worst people get. And I am the worst. One time I was driving, and there was a guy ahead of me, and he kind of, I don't know, he sort of drifted into my lane for a second, and this came out of my mouth. I said, "Worthless piece of shit."
Okay, excellent. Perception. Right, how does he come across? He absolutely comes across like the person who's going to be able to tell you unique perspective, humorous, observational comedy he's noticed, and he's going to keep it quite grim and dark the entire time. He's never going to stray from that. And his demeanor and his personality on stage is of that person who can get away with pointing out the things that are working in life in that way, in that style. And the jokes are all on the same point. It's all around a little bit of humorous grimness that we all know and love him for. And the pacing, well, I think he's got probably the best pacing in the game. He is able to slow down and speed up. Louis tends to slow down when he really wants you to understand the point and get on board. When he slows down, he tends to want you to agree with him. Like his setup to the premise of this bit he's doing here, where some people have or just get crazy, and he's talking about different people with different kind of angers, and then he puts the situation in a car. He paints a very vivid, perfect, easy to understand picture, and then once we're all on board in the car, then he starts to let loose and make us laugh consistently at the same premise, never moving away from it. And obviously the body language is absolutely on point, and he's continuously moving around to make sure that everything is synced, that the conversational tone is always being offered to every section of that room. He's trying to make it so that he's in sync with everybody, and everybody has that little moment with him, that moment of intimacy, the illusion of the moment of intimacy with him, because the presence, the perception, the jokes, the pacing, and the body language is all in sync. Let's move on to our final comedian, Mark Normand.
I drink a lot, but I still get my shit done. I'm what you call a functioning alcoholic. Any functioning alcoholics here? Hey, all right, wow, yeah. All right, yeah. We get a bad rap, huh? Why is that a negative term? We're actually harder working than everyone else. We're doing the same shit you're doing, drunk. Where's our parade? What, Bob showed up to work on time? Bob, I slept here. Yeah, we're tough. We don't bitch. Jenny didn't show up because the flu. Well, I have disease, and I'm keeping it a secret. Where's my plaque? But you got to be careful with the booze, you know? Anything can happen. Meet a nice lady or a nice guy, you got to be careful. Always wear the condom, you know? I hate these people that complain about condoms. My friend, good-looking guy, complains about condoms. You know, he's always like, I don't want to wear a condom. I'm like, come on, what's the problem, you know? You're putting your penis inside of a woman. I think you're gonna be okay. Right. Well, you just can't have anything between you and someone else? His dad's like, hey, son, give me a hug. We'll get that f***ing shirt off, Dad.
So grim, dark, such a beautiful way of just as close to a one-liner comic as we can really get without being a one-liner comic, setting up the premises perfectly. Perception. He comes across as the kind of guy who might just be able to get away with the kind of stuff he's going to say. He's got that look in his eyes that, like, you know, we're going to go over that bridge together and I'm going to take you there. It's going to be all right. That's the kind of way he is. I'll lead the pack. You just come with me. But if you do come with me, you're kind of complicit in this too. That's the perception. That's what he's leading into. And all his jokes are always in sync with that. He's always going to come up with a surprising twist. He's always going to turn around everyday scenarios, everyday understandings of how we go about life and turn them into something absolutely shocking and grim and incredibly humorous all of the time. And the pacing is just absolutely outstanding. Mark's got that kind of a nice rhythm and it's moving along quite quickly all of the time. He's not leaving the audience behind. It's not too fast. His diction's on point, but he's got a very excited style to him where he's very excited to get to the punchline because he knows it's going to be rewarding to you, and he has so many punchlines to one simple premise that they're slightly changing as he morphs the story into suit his own way. You're constantly rewarded with punchlines that have the same grimness to how he is perceived by the audience, along with the pacing and the body language, everything in sync again. So this is what we need to be doing when we are looking at comedians in the future. We break it down into sections. We ask ourselves, how do I perceive this person and how are they exaggerating my perception of them? And then you're going to be able to move on to the next part, because we said perception was the most important. I really feel, for me anyway, it's always when I figure out how the audience perceive me, that's when I can really make the show work for me. And keeping the jokes on point. Once we know how we are perceived by the audience, we can make the jokes that suit that scenario, and we can be the comedian that they want us to be and we want to be. And the pacing is nice, and we add pregnant pauses. We make sure that we give them moments to catch up with what it is we are saying by putting in pauses on purpose while we're creating the comedy, not just on stage trying to add a pause in the last second because we feel it feels a little bit more natural. We want to create all this in the writing area, in the writing sessions. And then, of course, body language being on point, just to drive the whole thing home, making sure that we are reaching out, making sure that we are having eye contact, making sure that when we have a descriptive term, we are open with our body language, making sure that we are looking at little ways in which we can push the punchline out. And if we move our body in the way that feels natural to us when there's a punchline coming up, and we consistently do that throughout the set, along with the pregnant pauses with the pacing, then we are giving the joke that we created the lifeline it deserves, and it's going to go down better than if you just stood still and delivered that same joke. This channel is all about making you 5% better every gig in every area of your performance. And now with this new formula, I'm going to be bringing this up time and time again every time we analyze a future comedian, because this is the essential 101 way, I really feel, of breaking down what it is a comedian is doing. So, what comedian do you want me to apply this to in the next video? Let me know, or let me know any question you have on comedy, or anything else for that matter. I might even make a video on it. And I will see you on the next one.